these vehicles are like engineered correctly.
Most people know us as the crash simulator, but we're actually more of a soft body physics simulator. We work with the community in the same collaborative way we work between ourselves.
And it totally blew up.
Over 10 years after its initial release, BeamNG is growing faster than ever before. And this in a time when many long-running car game titles are dying out and new releases can't stand up to the hype. This is the story of how Thomas Fischer, Yevgeny Stamagionakis, Gabriel Fink and Sam Hutchinson, better known as TDEV, Estama, Gapester and LGF Hutch, developed the most advanced physics engine ever seen in a video game, and how they and their team are revolutionizing car games forever. In this video, we are going to look at some things that have barely been talked about on the internet. I'd like to thank Chuck, a former BeamNG developer, and the entire team behind the game for answering questions and providing insight into the workflow. More on that later though. Also, just a quick disclaimer. Please do not message your devs directly on Discord or submit tickets if you don't have an actual issue with the game. They made an exception for this video, and if you still decide to DM a dev, just don't expect an answer and remember that you're probably wasting their time. As you probably already noticed by the names of the BeamNG founders, the devs come from all around the world. While they do have a headquarters in the German city of Bremen, the devs are remote first. Keep this in mind as we will get to it later in this video. Looking at old footage and forum posts of the devs, the intention quickly gets clear. Creating a unique game, if you can even call it that, it's more of a real-time physics simulation to be honest, that is fundamentally different from any other game in existence. However, to truly understand who these developers are and what makes them so special, we need to go even further back to their roots. If you've watched some of my other videos, you may already be familiar with parts of the backstory, so I'll try to keep it brief and include some things and fun facts that I haven't touched before. In 2005, an off-road truck simulator called Rigs of Rods was released, founded by Pierre-Michel Ricordel. By the year of its release, Thomas Fischer joined the project too. Yes, that Thomas Fischer, who is now the CEO of BeamNG. The game evolved into a physics-based sandbox game that included various types of vehicles, such as planes, boats and trains. 4 years later, a game-changing update was published, introducing soft body physics. Just a couple of years later, Thomas Fischer, along with Gabriel Fink, who had also joined Rigs of Rods in the meantime and was mainly active as a vehicle creator, teamed up with others to create an entirely new game using CryEngine 3, BeamNG Drive. On the 9th of May 2012, the website BeamNG.com went live, and just 20 days later, they posted the very first YouTube video, Revolutionary Soft Body Physics in CryEngine 3. The physics were indeed revolutionary, and this video went crazy viral. Thomas Fischer stated in an interview with a German newspaper that this was the breakthrough. Keep in mind that BeamNG was a very small startup company at that time, set in an apartment in Bochum, a German city. Although the trailer was made with CryEngine 3, they later switched to Torque3D, an open source engine. This not only gave them the freedom to modify absolutely anything, but also avoided copyright issues and better suited the aim of the project. By the way, on a somewhat different note, here's a fun fact that, as far I know, has never been mentioned before. The CryEngine 3 version of BeamNG is forever gone. The reason for this is very simple. The hard drive on which it was saved suffered a crash, and as the Torque3D version was already far more advanced by that point, no one bought it. Anyway, the YouTube trailer really skyrocketed the company forward, and 2 other former Rigs of Rods developers switched to working on BeamNG, alongside about 100 others who joined the company too. It's incredible that a small project turned into such a big company, whose software is even used by well-known manufacturers like Audi. And this is what we're going to talk about in the next part of this video. How come that a group of just 4 people created something that is crucial to autonomous safety research and also happens to be among the top 5 most played car games on Steam?
The workflow with this physics engine is super unique, so we have to find people from all over the world because there's specific talents that we need. Like, at least on the vehicle team, I'm in America, we have a guy in Canada, a guy in Argentina, some Europeans, a guy in Australia, just because like the skill set is very, very specific.
Let's get into the workflow of the devs, the way things work internally. There's not much official information on this except for this blurred document that Bruno Gonzalez, aka Stanyak, shared. By the way, I will be using nicknames as well as real-life names for the sake of simplicity. If you want to check how the mentioned dev is called in real life or what the nickname is, you can do this in the credits tab in the main menu. Back to the Blur document. Although it doesn't give much away, it shows the process of implementing a new feature pretty well. As you can see, there are a lot of issues blocking the feature from being implemented and postponing the release. Jared explained this in an interview with Traction GG.
My wheels are set a little bit too far backwards, so like if you turn under full compression, the wheel hits the fender, and it's like, oh crap, you know. And it's like these issues that you really only think about in like real life, you know, like building and stuff. Like, oh, like if the wheel like goes all the way up, it's gonna hit the fender, and now like the fender rips off. But we like kind of mess up, you know, like I messed up on the location of the A-arms, and like it happens, you know, in BeamNG. I mean, everything has to be, you know, basically engineered down to the dot, you know, whether it's suspension design, like how the chassis deforms, like how the forces flow through it. That's what makes it really, really difficult, is all the research that goes into this and all the thinking and like the revisions too. We build it and we're like, oh, this isn't working. Just like in real life, you got to go back to the shop, you got to like cut the, you know, the linkages off and reposition them. But that's what also makes it fun. That's why I enjoy working on this project so much, because I love building in real life, and this gives me the same type of like feeling and passion and like love for these vehicles.
The workflow is truly unique due to the special physics engine. It has been said multiple times that the devs are testing all sorts of maps, vehicles and features, but only a fraction of them actually gets implemented because they either don't meet the quality standards or simply don't add anything significant enough to the game. However, there are a few older posts on how cars are actually made, but those are quite technical, so I'll leave them out. Not to mention that the posts are likely outdated. In the first few hours after the 0.24 update, which included the Pessima remaster, a sticker could be found showing the logo of Lion Sharp Studios, an outsourcing company that provides game developers with 3D models. It's not clear for how long they have been using third-party 3D models, but Chuck said that most vehicles are outsourced. Alright, that's a rather technical part. In order for you to understand the next part better, let me introduce you to how the company is built up internally. Basically, there are two big forks, BeamNG Drive and BeamNG.Tech, formerly known as BeamNG.Research. The latter is used by Audi and similar companies to conduct vehicle safety related research. More information on that is in the video linked above and in the description. The regular version of BeamNG is in turn divided into many specialized areas like concept art, programming, vehicle artistry, vehicle systems, vehicle physics, marketing, communications, and so much more. I think you get it. How can a company with so many areas still hold together though? Well, there may not be one clear answer to that question, but an important reason is the frequent company-wide meetings. Due to the non-disclosure agreement, Chuck wasn't allowed to reveal how often they take place, but he did assure me that they occur frequently. In these meetings, everyone can share the progress and suggest changes to other areas of the game. As nice as this might sound, not all of these changes get approved. Sadly, for example, he told me that he mentioned the outdated state of the Light Runner mode multiple times, but never found ground. Generally though, if you work at BeamNG, you have plenty of time for side projects that may even get included in the base game, and there's room for suggestions. This is something that the employees really seem to appreciate. Depending on what area you work in, you might even get to travel around the world and get to know different cultures, so that the cars and maps are as accurate as possible. Among other things, this is one of the many reasons the remote-first approach is a good thing. Content from all around the world can be added accurately, developed by people with personal experience.
My dad, he used to build trophy trucks and dune buggies, so he has like a lot of fabrication equipment, and I basically grew up in a junkyard. So like ever since I was like a baby, you know, I would like run outside and be like, Dad, what's that laying on the ground? And he's like, oh, that's an alternator.
Well, guess who made the dune kicker? Working at BeamNG seems like a dream job, doesn't it? I mean, it opens up so many cool possibilities. You get to talk to people who are just as passionate as you, and even though they're remote first, the headquarters looks so cozy. It's not that easy to get into though.
You know, a lot of us have like these types of backgrounds where, you know, we know a lot of the details of these cars, and this is why we, you know, hire around the world, because it's so tough to find people that are just as much into cars as they are a 3D artist or a programmer.
It is worth mentioning that there are many examples of BeamNG modders who have been offered a job.
Like we still hire amazing modders all the time. to this day, and I don't think we'll ever stop, because I mean this works so great for us, and it also gives people an opportunity to develop their passion in this direction within the industry further.
This chapter is not very different from the previous one, but we're going to focus on the role of the community in development now.
We do collect ideas from the forums and YouTube. We try to collect stuff that is actionable. So if there is like 55 threads asking for some, original supercar, that might not be as constructive as like somebody who describes some unique use case. Like that will actually turn into a real Jira ticket and sent to an actual developer to consider. So yeah, we work with the community in the same collaborative way we work between ourselves.
I will show you one concrete example of where developers clearly listen to the community, and again, I have some inside information. Ironically, this example starts with a disappointed community. Let me explain. If you're a somewhat active player, you may be familiar with the system of introducing upcoming updates. Teaser Tuesdays. The basic idea is that they share a sneak peek of upcoming content on Tuesdays. This already shows that they care about the community, but it also was one of the reasons the community was disappointed once. And when I say disappointed, I mean really disappointed. Shortly before BeamNG's biggest update ever, version 0.27, there was a teaser showing the upcoming map called Johnson Valley, but the concept art contained 2 ATVs, which hyped up the community quite a bit. Just to be disappointed a few hours later when Lilo had to calm the update speculation thread down and assure everyone that the vehicle would not find its way into the game. But wait a second, what's this then? In BeamNG version 0.30, the Hirochi Aurata did get implemented after all. I suppose the developers noticed that people really wanted an ATV, so they added one. The way they turned this disappointment into an actual part of the game impresses me. The fact that they listened to the community is awesome in itself and makes me question the communication team of other game studios. I mean, who plays the game at the end of the day? The community, obviously. There's literally no reason to not listen to it, yet barely any game studio seems to do that. When I asked Chuck about this, he said that the devs take the community very seriously. This goes as far as reading comments on BeamNG related posts, noting down main points from Discord conversations, and so on. There's a good chance that if you comment on this video, someone in the dev team will read it. Some of you might think, but they don't actually listen, why are we still getting off-roading based content when we would prefer on-road vehicles? The answer to that is simple. The game lacked off-roading content up until just a few years ago, and people were complaining that it's lost potential as the physics for off-roading are definitely there. Remember how special the workflow is? The content that they started developing a few years ago is only finished now. This is just a theory, but this sounds quite plausible in my opinion. There are countless more examples like the fact that they participate in memes and test whether mods break in updates before releasing them. The repository would look very different if they didn't do that. Speaking of which, the community obviously doesn't just play a central role in the development of the base game. The mods they create are a big part of BeamNG's success. In a presentation that TDev gave 9 years ago, he already pointed that out. It's in German, so I'll add subtitles.
Genau, und Leute bauen komische Sachen, weil es ja Lego-Prinzip, ne? Insofern haben wir Fahrzeugphysik implementiert und plötzlich hat jemand ein Rocket Car gebaut. Oh, oder ein Helikopter. Oder ein Flugzeug. Zeppelin. Helikopter. Wusste ich nicht, was es ist, ja. Fliegt.
I think we now know enough to draw a conclusion. I could make this chapter really long by summarizing everything again, but to be honest, TDev pretty much said it all.
Alle modernen Games machen schöne Grafik, aber die Physik, die fällt hinten rüber, weil merkt eh keiner. Denken die. Auf jeden Fall, wir machen es anders. Bei uns sieht es eher so nach einem Lego-Prinzip aus. Bei uns sehen die Fahrzeuge aus ganz vielen Punkten aus.
Yes, they indeed care about the physics of their game while also listening to the community. That's their recipe for success. The general trend of open-world sandbox titles becoming increasingly popular is something that we can notice in other games as well. Maybe people are slowly but surely getting tired of playing games where the handling is unpredictable and the physics weird. Because after all, there's nothing you feel more familiar with than lifelike physics. However, physics isn't everything, considering that the most popular games aren't simulations. These top-ranking games have something in common though: freedom. In these games, you can do pretty much whatever you want and walk around in an open world. And while the physics might not be necessarily great, it feels like the limits are endless. And this is what makes BeamNG so great. It's a game with lifelike physics, depth to listen, and the only limit being your imagination. I'm convinced that in a few years' time, more and more people will start to realize the full potential of BeamNG, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Steam charts look like this soon. Another thing that I believe really sets the game apart from the crowd is the aforementioned fact that the developers come from all around the world and are passionate about what they do. The game's only actual problem is that way too many people still view it as a crashing simulator when it's so much more. Actually, it's not about the crashes. The crash is a nice sight, but it's about the behavior of the vehicle itself, says Thomas Fisher. While chatting with the devs, I've also received some fun facts and hints at things that they are working on, as well as things that may not be added to the game in the near future. Let's take a quick look. For the nice to know facts, you might be happy to hear that the remote control app may find its way back into the game after becoming deprecated. Hence, also the seemingly useless tab in the settings menu. TDev is a busy person though, so this may take a while. And did you know that nearly all in-game music and background music in the official trailers are made by Gatester and TDK, BeamNG sound designer? Something actually funny and wholesome at the same time are the Easter eggs in the game files. Among other things, you can find BeamNG's anti-piracy screen. Basically, when the game notices that it was downloaded illegally, the main menu background switches to a cool art and the user will be prompted with this message. Another funny Easter egg is this advanced sketch, and this list could probably be expanded, but I'll leave it here. Here are two things that might slightly disappoint you. Neither airbags nor dynamic weather are in the pipeline or just not worth the dev's time. Keep in mind that this information is pretty much 1 year old as of recording this video, so it might be different now or whenever you watch this video. This doesn't mean they don't want to implement these features, it's just really hard given their unique game engine and not very high priority at the moment. Just to get it out of the way, because I know that the comments will be flooded with this. Tire towers are being worked on, but there's no fixed release date yet. One last time in this video, we're going back in time. TDev talked about possible collaborations with movie studios, which honestly seems like a great thing, since it's much cheaper to recreate crashes inside of BeamNG than actually having to wreck cars. In 2023, an interesting career opportunity presented itself. They were searching for someone with Unreal Engine and visual effect knowledge. BeamNG has a built-in GLTF exporter, which allows you to export any vehicle in its current state. It's possible to do this for every single frame of a crash, putting them together in programs like Blender and Unreal Engine, which then leads to a stunningly realistic render of the crash, perfectly usable for movie scenes. To finish off this video, we'll take a look at all evidence pointing towards one of BeamNG's most requested features, official multiplayer. There are suspicious icons in the game files, and there have been some weird unintentional leaks, but the devs always assured us that it won't be released anytime soon. What is going on? I really feel like they're trying to implement online multiplayer. Considering how long it takes for other features to meet the quality criteria for release, I believe we may have to wait another year or two. That's not a problem though, since BeamNG already works quite well, and you can even host your own servers using Assetto hosting. With an easy-to-use interface, Assetto hosting makes server hosting easier than ever before. With just a few clicks, you can customize everything to your liking, upload mods, and then either play with your friends or open a server to the public to make new friends. Get started now by clicking the link in the description, and thanks to Assetto hosting for sponsoring this video. For official multiplayer though, the old saying goes, it comes when it's ready. Last but not least, this goes to any BeamNG developer watching this. Thank you so much for this amazing game, and special thanks to Chuck for answering the flood of questions and making this video possible. That's it for this video. I plan on making more of these documentary style BeamNG videos, so if you enjoyed it, subscribe to not miss out on future content.